Welcome back to another episode.
Oh, we're in it. Okay. Welcome everybody to episode 5
Yes.
or 6.
5.
Something.
I think. It's 5.
It's just Paul and I. Just chilling with the bros right now.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Drink
We're all right.
couple of brewskis. By that I mean water.
Ooh.
Because we're not
Paul,
legal.
you drink?
No, I don't. I'm not legal.
Paul condoning drinking water on the podcast?
What you gotta do is just slush that water around up to the mic.
Hear that? That's 100%. That's pure. Not many people can say that.
That's
Not many people
Floridian
can say that
spring right there.
Oh yeah, Florida spring, one of the healthiest springs. We just get it straight from the swamp. Get a little tap in there.
Get a little alligator semen in there.
Oh, that's perfect. That's some protein.
That's what we all need right here. Actually, no, we don't need... Florida boys don't need any more alligator semen. We got enough.
We
got
bottle
enough.
it up and bring it up to you. In Georgia.
Oh,
Just gonna slowly start doxing one another.
that's the thing. I didn't know that people didn't drink the same spring water. Or like they don't have any Zephyr Hills up in Georgia. And like I had like a pack with me and like all the Georgian people were like, "Ooh, what's that water bottle company? What's that? Zephyr Hills?" I was like, "Fuck off, what?" I was like, I didn't know that they didn't have like, I guess it was a local water company. I don't know. It was very, and the grass isn't the same here as well. And I was like, what? Very
You get
interesting
treated like
when
a
I come to-
tourist. It's like you just bring water from another state. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, so exotic. Wow, are you from Myanmar?
Are you from? I was like, oh, I didn't know this because I'm from Florida. It's like,
You're
oh,
like, oh, well,
that's still exotic.
I just love the idea of like being able to tell where somebody's from based off of material they have.
Mm.
It's like usually people go like, "You look Asian. Are you from Asia?" Or like usually people go, "You look like you're from Latin America." But you know,
Yeah.
instead it's just like, really, you're drinking I mean, what would you even say? Like if somebody's from Latin America, you're like, you have vintage Coke. That I don't know. It's like that's a weird thing. I think I might be wrong, but I think in South America there's a lot of like glass bottles of Coke. That's probably just me watching movies that have.
You watch too many
vintage
Narcos, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. And it's like, it was like, I guess it was just to fit the mise en scène of the time.
Yeah.
Like they have vintage looking Coke, but it's just normal in that time period.
No, I'm happy if like if people even get like the right continent. Cause sometimes people will say, "Are you from China? Are you from Japan? Or are you from Asia?" And
I had a friend who, well, like people would say, "You look like you're from China," and he's like, "I'm not. I'm from Asia." I mean, it was also in second grade, but like still, like I get what you mean though. Yeah, it's like it's funny that people go straight to the country rather than the continent.
Yeah,
Like-
no, sometimes people don't understand that China is in Asia, and I still get asked that question too, like even today.
Yeah, it's weird. China is like
Yeah.
the default Asian go-to. Like, it's probably because of how much they influence American market,
Yeah,
and like we kind of privy towards them. And like we even say, like when we talk about movies, that Warcraft movie, what was it? World of Warcraft, the movie or something.
yeah,
That bombed here in the States, and then China ate it up. Same with Meg.
the Meg, yeah. I don't know. Chinese have been here like the longest out of all like the Asian. Well, Chinese, Japanese, like the main people who immigrated here, and who have been able to build themselves up, of course. But that's all speaking from like an Asian immigrant viewpoint, like perspective.
Yeah, well, like it's also funny though too, because even people that are like Taiwan Chinese or
Mhm.
like that kind of blend, I've heard stories of like people getting yelled at if they go to Taiwan and they're like, "Oh, you're all Chinese," or like, "This is China, right?" And they're like, "No."
Yeah.
Like, we're Taiwanese.
Yeah, you ever seen that one video about like the streamer who's like he's playing like H1Z1 in like a Chinese server, and he goes, "Taiwan #1, Taiwan #1," and all the Chinese like players tell him to shut the fuck up and yell at him really loudly. Because
No,
there's
I
like
haven't seen that.
there's like massive hate or like tension between the two countries.
I think there was a civil war, wasn't there? And,
Yeah, about land dispute and whatever. Which I don't know, man. I didn't think Chauncey's boyfriend was like that, bro.
Is he actually? Wait, is he Taiwanese or like?
No, his name's just Taiwan.
Oh my god. That's right. Yeah.
I just can't believe that. I don't know.
I'm gonna name my kid America. That's actually a sick name.
America.
America, please stand up. It's the most American thing you can do.
USA.
Yeah, I'm gonna call my kid USA. They'll think he's from Africa.
That's the inverse of what you wanted to do.
I'm sorry. That's actually a racist joke. Like that. This is what I want to talk about. Actually, no. This is something I want to talk about. Okay. We made a joke in the last podcast. The whole joke was like, oh, LOL, Juan and Paul are like,
yeah.
I mean, they're both American, but it's like, oh, haha, I'm surrounded by not white people. Like, for one, I hate that, like, race and, like, even just color in general. Actually, why, like, because racism is only acknowledged, but it doesn't exactly exist, you know? Like, I'm not saying that when Joe Schmo calls the black guy the N-word, that's not racist. I'm saying it's like the fact that associative property even exists is what enables that to then coexist. You know, it's like if you see color, then you're innately racist.
Yeah. Did somebody point that out?
Well, like I shouldn't even say it like that because I get bad with that. Where like I try and build up the story. It's because I'm a storyteller. I try and put the pieces in place, which I feel like Juan, we could have had way more context, and we'll try and even get Juan back on so we can explain more about what we were talking about. There's a lot of like, we kind of rambled on some stories, and we could have definitely gone into. But point being, I remember in the beginning, Juan was saying like, I'm racist, and it's like part of the joke actually. Like I wouldn't personally feel attacked if Juan called me a racist, or if you called me a racist, because like we're friends and we've been around each other, and we know how like we mesh. We know when it's gone too far. I don't think it ever... Actually, wait, this is a tangent, but I really want to bring this up just because it's really funny. There was one time in my life where I think I went too far with you, and I'm like, dang, he's really hurt by that. Like, he is, no joke, like, you are actually mad. Exactly, like, it was so small, too, like, you may not even remember. It's when we were in history class, and I was like, really tired. I was always tired, but like that exhaustion enabled me to just like to do. Well, I mean, for one,
to get racist, yeah.
Not to be racist.
No,
Again, I need to finish the main point before I say anything. Yeah. But like with this quick thing, I remember I think I threw a pencil at you.
Oh yeah.
And you were like,
yeah.
Maybe
like,
you could even explain right now. Like you got really mad. Like you said it specifically. It brings back bad juju. And I was like, whoa.
Did I say juju?
You said juju.
I said juju, I guess.
You said bad juju.
But it's like,
whoa.
like initially, like just anything at the head is sort of like, well, for me, the head's like just it just pisses me off. I don't know, like just getting slapped in the head, like I get like an immediate reaction, or anything. And that's like, like there was this one time where I was watching a movie or something, and like one of the characters slaps the other dude in the back of the head, and I like that's like a multiple gag in like multiple movies. But like even when I was young and like I would see that, I would just be like, I would get furious just like even looking at that. And also there was also another moment where this is kind of on the subject of feet as well, but like
don't turn me on, Paul.
it was at the well, like the foot is regarded in Kachin culture as well, like sometimes kind of rude to like, especially one time at like my uncle's house when like Chauncey and Maggie and like Madge and Kat were there, my cousin and like my other Kachin friends were there as well. So I think, yeah, you were there too, yeah, that's right. Or, well, this has happened like multiple times, but like, Chauncey gets like footsie is what I'm saying. Chauncey gets footsie where she'll move her toes towards me and like touch me with her toes, but like in the Kachin culture that's like extremely disrespectful. And there was like one moment where she like legitimately not kicked but like raised her foot up to my head or like up to my face, and like that's like it's like strictly bad. Like that's like really disrespectful to even do to a person, and especially from like coming from a lady, because like it's kind of sexist in the Kachin culture. But that was in front of all my other Kachin friends, and I remember them even looking at her and then looking at me and being like, holy shit, did she really do that to you? That kind of spurred me on, and I even told Chauncey, I was like, Chauncey, don't ever do that to me again, and like you gotta chill out and stop with this.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I guess I try to put myself in a serious note. I think she took it like as she's not gonna do it again, and she didn't do it afterwards. But like she's kind of like brushed it off, like okay, like, but like I don't know if that was like her trying to just play it off as a cool moment or anything.
Well, I mean, like, what can you do? Because, like, I think in America, at least, I'm trying to relate, and I may even need more context on it. Like, if you put your feet on the table, it's like, that's disrespectful. But I think there's also levels to disrespect in terms of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I can... This is kind of what makes me love America at the same time, though. It's
well,
like,
actually, yeah.
Well, I can't really think of anything that is so disrespectful that I would... Now, I'm not even saying that's wrong to do, to, like, snap on somebody and be like, don't do that, ever. Like, almost like you're disciplining a child, you know? Because that's what I think of it as. Is like, when I threw that pencil at your head, and you were like, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's like, whoa, okay, I understand. I've overstepped my bounds, and I will... I'm trying to find the word. It's like, I'm trying to compare it to, like, as a kid to an adult, I'll understand. Don't do that ever again. Okay, like this. Okay, perfect. Calling your dad by their first name, or something like that. I think I did that to my dad once when we were playing a board game, and it was like in front of all the family, and I was kind of saying it because like other family members were calling other members of the family that weren't his son, basically, were calling him by his first name, and I did it as like, oh, haha, I'm one of the guys at the table. And he's like, don't do that, Zach. Don't use my first name. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Sorry, Dad. But it's not like if I was with my brother and he calls me hoo-ha farty pants or some like made up BS or something, and it's like, don't say that ever again. That'd be way different. So I think there are certainly, like, there's a level of disrespect that I don't even know if, kind of goes back to episode 1. There's a level to it that I don't even know if I can understand. I'm trying to. It's like in America, in terms of respect, even if we talk about some of the more damning pieces of evidence, like don't step on the American flag, that's like nationalistic. That's like, okay, well, we're not in a room with a flag right now. It's like there's nothing really on the spot that I guess you could say. You could say like suck my dick. And it's like, okay, haha. Like,
yeah,
fuck off. Like, I don't know what you want from me. You want me to like sit you down like a child and say, now, I won't suck a phallic object under your possession. It's like everything's on the table in America, and that's what I love about it. And that's actually, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I want to get to, beyond racism, etc. But for this point right now, in terms of respect, I'd like to know what exactly, like, do you know the like origin of feet being disrespectful? I guess like they're smelly, or like they're...
Well, like, I think it's disrespectful in like all cultures, you know? Like, you would never like shove your foot in somebody's face and expect that to be well taken. But I guess it's just a lot more amplified and like...
But like with like friends though too, is like, I understand that you're with your brothers, so it's like,
well,
cool,
like,
dude.
That was also like the thing too. Like, if it was just us, I would have just like ignored it, because like you guys wouldn't know. Like,
well, you'd say like stop, like, you know, or something, like, because it's sure. But then like to that validity though, or that point of what I'm getting at, you know. But like, yeah.
But then like my Kachin friends were there, my cultural like blood friends, and then I had to like step up for myself at the time. Like I was like, because they were already doing other things that were like that were kind of looked down upon as well. Like, so I was like, okay, this is just, and they were like accepting, like my other friends were like accepting, like they're Americans, they don't know about this set of culture, they don't know about this, so like they didn't really care. But like once like that foot got into line, they were like, okay, that's even disrespectful in like American culture. Like if someone like, don't get hard, Zach, but if I took my foot and I was like that to your face, I don't think
I
it'd be
would
like taken
I
well.
would take my hand, like, honestly, 'cause just to illustrate, if you put your foot in front of my face, I would just take my hand and just swat it away and be like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
get your
but
foot out of
like
my face. But it'd be like, it'd be jeering, it'd be funny. It'd be like,
yeah.
you being a dumbass, stop, stop.
Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot on my foot, yeah!
But like over there, it was like I had to stick up for myself and just tell her to just stop, because she kept on doing it repeatedly. Like the first time, it was like the swatting thing, with like over and over again, and like I've had her toes touch me too many times. There's something else I could get at, but then it just get too weird, and then it just get off the tangent. So like I guess we could just keep it segueing onto your next point.
Well, like, so within the realms of culture, what you told me is, like, it's disrespectful to do anything of the caliber of, like, I guess, touching? Like...
No, just like, I would say, not touching, but just something that is...
Or with the head, basically, is like, if there's anything that's associated with attacking, I guess, to put it in a melodramatic sense, like attacking somebody's head, or touching their head, or putting something around their face.
I don't know actually about the head, if that's like a whole like cultural thing, but I just know that like my parents would always keep it as like a place to never hit or touch or slap. It's like when me and my brothers would like slap, and we'd slap each other's head, they would like freak out and be like, "No, don't hit the head," or like,
Okay.
I couldn't,
okay.
yeah. So like,
Well, like, that I can relate to. Like, that's understandable. It's like the same thing with, actually, never mind. I was gonna say boxing or, like, wrestling, but well, there is, to a degree, in wrestling, I guess. Like, don't poke the eye, or no hits below the belt, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Same with, like, wrestling with your brothers, too. It's like, don't slam their head on stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense, yeah.
and like even, what is it, like, I was growing up, it was like I couldn't. There were some moments, and it wasn't like, because when I say it now, it'll sound as if it's like really extreme, but like I couldn't even touch, like I can't touch my parents' heads, apparently. I could, but like there were some moments, and I don't remember like the full context now, but like there were some moments when I did try, they would be like, "Don't touch your mom's head." Like my dad would be like across, like, "Don't touch your mom's head like that," or "Don't touch my hair, like my head like that." I don't know. It's weird. I think it's more of like, it's more of what I was raised up on. I don't know about it as a cultural thing, because I never heard that from any of my other friends or like my cousins or anything. But like just
Well,
the
not
head
even about,
itself,
like feet,
yeah.
though? Or, like...
The feet too. It's like the way you're pointing your feet. If you're like sitting down with like your feet stretched out and you're pointing it towards like someone older than you, that's considered rude.
Oh, well, that I
Yeah.
had no idea. Like, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So...
Stuff like that. So like the feet even touching you, if it's like family, it's like okay, it's whatever. But like as long as it's with friends too. But like if you're kind of doing it in like an annoying way, like, repeatedly over and over, you're gonna get like, they're gonna talk to you about that, and they're gonna shut you down, or like
Gonna
they're
get
gonna stand
bopped.
up for themselves. They're gonna be like, "Listen, don't ever do that," or like stuff like that. But yeah, it's the direction that you point your feet towards. Yeah, I mean, there's also, yeah, I'd leave it on that. Everything else kind of goes more further in depth.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, that's interesting. I had no idea that there was, like, a cultural stigma on feet,
Yeah.
anything. I mean, because, like, I get, like, the parental kind of divide, or, like, something I even got at with the generational gap in terms of, like, there are certain things that I can't do to a parent, or, like, say to a parent, etc. Like, there was one time I went deep-sea fishing with my dad, and he made note of a good catch I got when we were fishing. I was, like, 9, 10, I don't know, I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And after I reeled in the fish, Dad caught it, he's like, "Oh, good catch, buddy." And I was like, "Oh, cool, yeah." And then later on the trip, Dad catches a fish, and I'm like, "Oh, good catch, buddy." And it was just, like, it's not something that you would stop and just go, "What'd you call me?" Like,
Yeah.
or like, "Son, don't ever call me buddy again." But,
Yeah.
but it's just like, culturally, there is something kind of odd about the camaraderie between parent and kid, or like, their kid. It's, I don't know. I guess that is on a personal level, kind of like you said with your household. It's something different about like how certain family structures work, and it's the same thing with, I guess in America, of course, anyone would argue with me that, oh, well, there are problems with America in terms of respect because this is disrespectful, and I had no idea. Same as I have no idea about how feet are disrespectful in I don't know why I'm at a loss for this. Would I say like in the Kachin culture or
Yeah.
within? Okay, yeah. I was gonna say like the Burmese culture, but I guess is that same difference? Burmese.
There's a
Kachin's
difference.
language, I thought.
The Kachin is like the name for the language and the people, but I would assume it's also the same for the Burmese. Although I'm not well too informed on that, but I would assume it would be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I see it as kind of like a way of saying English people are in Britain and English people speak English,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all British. That's what's kind of odd about that. Whereas there was like a civil war in Myanmar, though, right?
Yeah, there still is right
Yeah.
now.
So
Yeah.
it's like Kachin and Burma.
Yeah.
Is that
It's-
separated?
Yeah, I guess I could speak on this. It's all for show, really. It's like about Kachin wanting sort of a federal level of government, but the Burmese kind of like limiting them. So the Burmese, naturally that could be achieved through diplomacy, but there's a war going on for like no reason at all. Like the Burmese could just wipe out the Kachin like that. Like I don't know why there's a fucking war going on.
Man, that reminds me of a little war I know here in the States. It's a war that I think was sided on the wrong side. I think that the winning side should have lost. Of course, I'm talking about the sovereign states of the United States here. I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find like a way to say it. Like,
Trying to say the Civil War?
What?
Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, if that's the name you want to put on it, I'm trying to think of the more righteous terms in which to say, like, state sovereignty. But, sure, Civil War, I guess. I mean, there was nothing really civil about it.
Oh, that sounds something I don't know anything about.
No, but, like, that it is weird that, like, it's funny that you even bring that up and how, if you look at the South during the Civil War, they were rural. They didn't really have the necessities to fight a war.
Mm.
The only thing they really had going for them was the fact that the United States was unionized, or like it was a union before the war, so there were forts, etc. in terms of like defending the U.S. and then the South kind of reprimanded their own forts. I wish I remembered Fort Lanc. There was the first. Dang, I can't remember the first fort that they Somerset. I'd embarrass myself trying to remember names, but point being, they took over and confiscated Union goods and then turned the tide of a war, or even got one going in the first place, utilizing generals that fought in the Mexican-American War, Robert E. Lee, a prominent figure, etc., Stonewall, and but historical facts aside, as it relates to cultural, I guess, as it relates to culture, it's funny that you bring up the war that's going on in Myanmar in terms of how, like, it's just for show, when that's kind of how we could all look back on the Civil War.
Yeah.
That is, of course, unless you look at all the statistics and how, like, it was a bloodbath.
Yeah.
One of bloodiest wars in the world. But is that kind of how it's going on in Myanmar, or like are there catastrophic lives being lost, or?
No, not really. It's well, civilians are affected, and it's like terrible. Because then there's more refugees and more people, more displaced people and whatever. But in terms of like body count, I would say that it hasn't been. It's nowhere near the Civil War, nowhere near that. It's essentially against a rebel army, which is the Kachin and like the government. But we don't have that many people in our like. It's such it's such a small number. I think it's like 1,000 like soldiers even that are like within the rebel group. So maybe like 200, 300 have probably died. It's been going on a while, but it's not.
What were you? Was
actually
your family,
no. It's
was your family affected by the war?
No,
Oh.
no, it's been going on for like 9, 10 years, but we were out before it started, and it hasn't really touched down on any like of like the cities. It's more of like a closed, contained war, a guerrilla war. Um, but it my numbers probably are really low, like wrong. It's not 200-300, but it's small. It's
Well, yeah. The
and
point being,
it's
it's
not
not,
too
the
bloody,
millions that we had
yeah,
here.
it's not the thousands and millions or anything.
Yeah, and well, like, I guess culturally, it's just kind of it's funny reflecting back on those because of how the Civil War now is this big deal because it divided the nation, and with Kachin and Burma, it certainly seems like a small feat on the Burmese side in terms of putting down the Kachin, to put it one way. But at the same time, it's just it's interesting how these statistics can gamify how we look back on things, and like now that they're it's hard to put it because like
I know what you're trying to say. Why'd you have to say small feet?
I
A double entendre there? No.
well, I mean,
But
do Kachin people have small feet? I mean that.
Nah, why'd you have to say feet though?
Hey, people
Because
got
of the discussion
preferences.
before?
Some people like small feet. Some people like big feet. That's why you came to America. You looking for big feet?
If people in America had to get used to eating ass before sucking toes, and like the Kachin people don't even eat ass, and sucking toes is
Shake my head.
gonna be only start getting popular in like 2200,
Is that what the Kachin people want?
2221.
They
That's
want the
when
right to suck toes.
they want the right to suck toes. But
Burma's like, nah, y'all gonna eat ass.
stop shoving ass down our throats. We want the toes. That's also another thing. There's like a power balance between the toes. If you think about it, between like, okay, this is like never mind.
Would it
I
be
don't want
more
to get down this
disrespectful
downhole.
in the Kachin culture to put your toes in somebody's face or their ass? That's my question.
Probably your ass. That's like, of course, like really just. That's like in any culture. You don't go like "Whoop," and just like shove your ass in someone's face.
Unless
That's what I see.
unless you're but,
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
that's right.
well, I've told you like 1,000 times, but like yeah, there was this one time I was at a sleepover and a friend of mine was just singing "Bunholes of Burning, Bunholes of Fire," and he just bare ass farted in my friend's face. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. He just drive by farts in his face, full moon. The dumbest thing ever, but it was so funny. I felt so bad for my friend. That's a whole ordeal. But anyway, again, it's like we go to respect. It's like, of course, that friend of mine was like mad, and we all were kind of like, dude, what the fuck did you just do? You just farted in his face, bare ass, dude. That's like really fucked up, dude. Like, what the fuck? And we're all freaking out. But like, it's interesting that there's like a respect on like a cultural level, or like as somebody who identifies with a group would find that unifying in terms of what they disagree with in the realms of being respectful or disrespectful. It's like it's interesting that like things are seen like that at all, you know? Because like I can't think of anything that I think it's like people are vary so much here in America. Like, of course, I'm talking to you and Juan. It's not like, oh, LOL, I got this Spaniard, or even like that wouldn't even be technically correct, like, or this Mexican or whatever, this Mexican and this Asian dude in this podcast with me. I can't, if I say that, I am joking, of course I am, because like you guys to me are both American, like we're just a bunch of American boys, but of course like people can identify with their national kind of origin. Like, you know, when I think of the Civil War, to me, I have troops that fought on both sides. I got a general, actually not a general, but I have a pretty prominent commander in the Union States that fought, but I also have family that owned slaves way back when. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, so when I look at them, I'm not going to base my identity off of who they were and synthesize who they were within myself and say, well, now I'd like to identify as whatever I could even reference to. It's kind of like with setting the sun again. It's like I wouldn't want to base myself off of these people from the past, because all of what they were as a reference to what I see as history or statistics, you know, because a whole life can be categorized as one that fought in a battle, and that adds up to about 1,000 people fighting Shin, or X number. All those faces, all these references. If you look at just one of them and see yourself in them, and then you take, well, this little piece, this is part of me, this is part of me. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't ultimately matter with the output of who you are, because you are something. You as a person, as an identity, are entirely different beyond the actions of said person. Genetically, you are totally based on them, and the actions that lead up to your existence, of course, you're dependent on those, but that's all in the past. That's all on just being you in the first place. But who you are from there on, beyond conception, beyond somebody's penis going into a vagina, you know, beyond that, you have the opportunity to live and differ in action. So, as it seems like a bit of a ramble, but that's kind of the main point I'm getting at with identity and who somebody is, with color, race, genetics, etc. Stuff like that it doesn't matter. Like it really, it does not matter beyond, I guess, what, like, genetics. But even then, it's like, if you're 4 foot tall or 6 foot tall, it shouldn't really matter beyond, I guess, like, law or something. Like, you know, if somebody is too big to fit on a ride in an amusement park, or if they're too small to get on the ride, you know, that's gonna give you some setbacks. So honestly, like, this is like a whole.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm actually just booking. I'm ending off the point here, because like this is something that could be talked about for like hours and hours and hours and hours, and I don't at all want to come across as like I'm being, you know, insensitive because like you don't matter. But I'm saying you matter beyond your genetic makeup. You as a person should define your own path, and whether that path leads to the conception of a new human being or the definition of who you are, or both, that's up to you. It shouldn't be defined by who got you there. But anyway, that's my point. That's it, you know?
Yeah, I was just gonna continue off. I had a conversation with one of my suite mates that I told you. He was a little bit more on the conservative side before. You know, he came to my dorm room drunk one night, and we just had like a conversation on just culture and race and identity and whatnot. And we talked about. I'm sorry
to cut you off really quick, but like he'd been drinking a lot of water, is what you're getting at, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Did I not say that?
You said he was.
Oh,
drunk,
a lot of water
so
and like and Gatorade.
Okay.
So he was working out before. Yeah.
Well, interesting. Okay, yeah. A little sugar. He had a sugar high, is what you're getting into. Yeah. Okay. Cool. But I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. But he was just. We were talking about how culture and like cultural identity was kind of like a two-edged sword. At one spectrum, it allows people to be unified and to find someone like them. But on the other hand, it alienates those who aren't. Sometimes alienates more than it accepts people and like gets people together. And so we were talking about just how he was giving up an experience that he had, was how he never really met like a minority until like, I would say like a minority as in not just a black person, but like a Mexican or an Asian, until like along the further years of his life, probably high school.
So he had only been surrounded by white people, is what we're saying.
White people and like one or two black people. So, and that...
But like all American bred is like what you're getting at too. It's like, it's not like white guy was from Switzerland.
Yeah, like all American bred.
Okay.
Yeah. Deep in the South, Christian, conservative, like Americans. And I don't know, it just, okay, where was I going with this? fuck.
I actually, you're bringing up a major point that I want to get to, and it's something that would at least nullify people that would attack me and say, well, like, you're racist because da-da-da. I'm not saying that, like, it doesn't exist. I'm just saying it shouldn't matter more than people make it out to be, and I think that's why problems are where there are. But,
Yeah.
but like, I don't want to cut you off either, which is another major problem I have. Like, when I listen back to the whole podcast with Juan, even though, in my defense, I was just trying to have Juan talk, but, like,
Yeah.
that kind of led to me cutting you off a few times. And there was one joke you were getting at, or, like, one point that I really wanted to hear, and I was like, damn it, Zach, why did you cut him off? That would have been perfect. It would have been better than what I said. And I was like, that whole tangent that I went off on, like, with the other point, but I was like, oh, that's why I should have asked, was that. It was the point about, like, his stepdad.
So what was
sorry,
like
but I'm-
Steve's stereotype? Like, what was he
Paul,
stereotyping?
Paul, give me a second. I'm sorry, but I gotta go in. I gotta crush the left wing. But if you're saying
Damn.
that, I'm sorry, but I also really have to go to the bathroom. But
Okay.
I'm gonna step off for a second, and maybe I'll remember it when I get back.
Yeah.
Like the main point I was trying to get at.
In the meantime, while Zach goes to the bathroom, let me play some music for our lovely guests and audience.
Yo, this is on Beat Saber. PewDiePie was playing it.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Hold up.
I don't like your T-Series.
This Lasagna is like actually a really good song.
Yeah. I was just thinking along the lines of the song, and I was like, damn, that's actually really good. It was like, sit the fuck down, T-Series. Time to spill the real tea. And I was like, oh, T-Series. I was like, oh, that's sick.
One of my favorites was, I'm a blue eyes white dragon, you a dark magician. Cause that's it's clever. It's clever is what it is. Sit the fuck down.
But you are getting at a point with like racism and stuff that I really wanted to get to, cause I think you got the point that you wanted to though, right? About how like he had only really been around a bunch of white guys and like a couple black guys, but like nobody that opened his mind beyond the American way, or like beyond American influence, where it seemed like everything was biased towards an American voice. I know that. What's funny too, like Rocky and stuff, like those movies. Growing up, I remember seeing like Drago and Rocky, and that was like, fuck Russia fucking sucks. Like there's a bunch of Aryan raised, like, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
And like this is an American, like
It's a real dark magician.
Yeah. But like the main point, I can meander as much as I want, but the main thing that you got at that I think this is a problem for anybody in any place that they are at. Like, I don't care if you're American, if you're, you know, Jamaican, etc., whatever. I don't, like, because we have the internet, I don't think there's any excuse for people anymore, and I love that. You go back to like Rocky and stuff. It's like that was a movie, but you got people in Malawi watching Rambo, and I know this because like in the book The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, he talks about how like people pretended they were troops in Rambo, and they would run around with sticks and like shoot at each other, because it was like that was a concept introduced to them through an American like movie with guns. And that's a whole other point as well, is like the fact that it's like kids are watching these rated R movies, and it's like, oh, what's bad about it? Actually, we'll have to get back to that too. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is familiarizing ourselves with foreign concepts. Foreign concepts being the conception of another human being, literally them being a concept as an arsenal of your understanding of the greater world. And so I don't think I don't think racism. Actually, I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to mention that as a concept that exists because it is just stigmatizing, and it's as sad as it is. There are things in this world that just can't even be talked about anymore because they're so damning to the person that says them that immediately it's like this an associative property of, well, if they say that, then I hate that person, and people can get taken out of context nowadays, where people will headline you and just put, well, they said this, they're a bad person now. And I wouldn't be as frustrated with, well, anyway, before I even, because there's so many things that like just are aggravating about today. It's not as bad as when there were world wars going on, but at the very least, it's good to understand the problems of today, so you might be able to combat them in some form. But the point I want to get at is just being familiar with people, like being familiar with other countries, other nations, and being familiar with the people that represent that nation on a form of just one person. Just you know, it's not like they speak. It's not like if I talk to you, because I'm using you as a reference now. It's like if I talk to you, am I just gonna be like, okay, well, tell me everything about Kachin? You know everything about Kachin culture, right? You must know where the origin of feet. You know, why is that disrespectful to come from? You know, it's like, on one hand, and we said this in the last podcast, I have a character like quote unquote foreign girl who is representative of something that our protagonist isn't familiar with. On one hand, with that being my reference and like representative of what I'm getting at, I could just totally suck the blood of like people that are in my life, and I could metaphorically suck their blood in the sense that I make them out to be representative of everything of quote unquote place they come from. Like, you came to America when you were 4. I moved to Maine when I was 5. You know, I consider myself more of a New Englander nowadays, just because I was influenced more by New England than I would, say, Florida, which is where I moved from. But this goes both ways. I'm in Florida right now, but my life story behind. I'm just saying, it's like you can't look at one person from a nation like Drago and think all of Russia is just like this guy. You know what I mean? And in the same light, race, again, it's like, I don't want to say it. It's just like, this stigmatization it's not the problem, though. It's a problem that one would go to the lengths of stigmatizing or saying, like, this is representative of an entire nation of people. But that's a double-edged sword. I think it's a problem when we make them out to be the enemy, just as well as the problem to make them out to be the hero or our crusader, you know? Because it's this belief that there are heroes and villains in this world. As much as Hollywood has made that the norm, or not even Hollywood, but like everybody, it's like it's a inclination to want there to be heroes and doers of good and doers of evil that need to be thwarted. And again, I feels like I meandered a lot, but the main point I'm making here is just familiarity is what matters beyond all else. You know, being comfortable. Being, like, I remember when I was in Maine, in high school, in 10th grade, I was sitting in this one class, and believe me, there were a lot of white people I went to school with in Maine. Like, oh my god, dude. Like, literal snowflakes I was with. Not to bash the politics of Maine, or actually Maine is fairly conservative if you go up north, but in the south, oh yeah, like all the lumberjacks and stuff, you know, which makes sense. I'm sorry because I stigmatized there too. It's like I'm not making any friends. The point I'm getting at is I'm in 10th grade, and there's a lot of white people, but literally, as you said too, it's like there were 2 black kids in my class, and they sat in like the corner of the room, sat with each other, and it's like that was it. It was like people would say like, "Hey, what's up, man?" and like, "Hey, yo, what's going on?" and like, you know, fist bump or high five or something, like small talk in a sense. But when it came to conversation, discourse, they spoke to one another. And I think I sat like right in front of them. I didn't really have too many friends in the classroom either, so I was just kind of like hanging around when I was listening, taking this all in. But the point I'm getting at is that I think it's more of a problem when you are just physically, or of course, like if you're mentally uncomfortable with sitting with people that aren't of your identification, be that skin tone, culture, etc. I think it frightens me that radical action could be taken to disassociate oneself from a situation that would make them uncomfortable at all. I think, and I'll say this too, I think comfort is one of the most dangerous things in not only society, and I say not only society like there's going to be something grander that would make it all the more damning, but comfort, I think, is one of the most dangerous things for yourself as a person. Because if you get too comfortable, and if you find a place in life, we talked about that too, I think, in the second episode, I believe, but using that as a focal point, I'm just saying, it's like people make racism out to be this bad, grand evil or whatever, and it is, but I think it's even worse. It is not even in the same realm of evil. Should you not even want to sit with somebody who is different than you?
Yeah.
That, I think, that is one of the most evil things, is being able to stigmatize at all and refer to something as a unified group of people. It's fine if you want to identify and you're still trying to find yourself, but if you try to identify to a group of people, you have not found yourself. You are not defining yourself by losing your identity to a sector, a group of people. I remember people would make fun of me because in middle school, I sat with the quote-unquote outcasts, but I laughed more at all the quote-unquote cool kids that used to sit with each other in middle school, and I'd sit in their table every now and then, humble brag, oh, I'm a cool kid now. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care if if you're gonna think, oh, he's not cool because he sits over here, or he's cool because I laugh at the fact that nowadays, when I see those people that would sit with each other that were in the quote-unquote cool kid table, or like where all the guys sat and all the girls like were sitting across from them, and it was like, ooh, there's all the boys, ooh, there's all the girls, like we acknowledge one another based off groups. I laugh at the fact that, no, I don't even laugh at the fact, because it's like, I'm not a spiteful douchebag like that. I find it genuinely disheartening that some of the people I knew that sat at that table, and some of the people that I was friends with, seem like they have just not, they genuinely don't look happy. Like,
now or like back then?
Now. Like, now that high school's over, or now that, like, they've kind of left that, it, that was comforting to them, to be with people that were, it's like, it'll sound like a joke when I say this, but I mean this as a serious point of reference. With a bunch of white guys, or a bunch of guys that had blue eyes, or a bunch of guys that had good smiles, or a bunch of guys that were, they were in the sports team, and the family had money or something, it's like, oh, we all relate on very generic properties that make us sitting here where we are, and we take it for granted to be alive in the first place. And, it. But again, I'm stigmatizing because I don't know what it's like. There could be a bunch of dynamics between the lot of them that, they'll all split off. And I'm saying this as an outsider, I guess, as well, so I can't truly understand and empathize, because I was only ever a tourist when I sat at their table. And sometimes it was boring. They'd laugh at really stupid things. And it was like, but it just... Anyway, that... Again, it's like almost as if I'm reiterating. The point I'm getting at is just like comfort with identities and groups and stuff. That's very dangerous. And
yeah,
it's very sad that people can point the finger and say, well, this guy's racist because he's actually interacting with the black folk, or like, or
yeah,
But again, and then it's like anyway, it's like there's tons of stuff that's already been said about this, but I think taking anybody's side is just as evil enough. Don't take me and then say, well, this white guy said that blah blah blah. It's like, just have an opinion. Like, be a person. You know, it's so frustrating that people are just faceless.
Don't be an NPC.
Yeah, don't be an NPC.
Yeah.
Which is supposedly a conservative joke nowadays, where like if you're an NPC or like Pepe the Frog or something is a conservative, why does it have to be political as well? It's like, do you not have enough self-worth to just have an opinion and say, well, I don't like that? Do you need to have a bandwagon of people that can bolster your voice so you can silence another person and then feel good about it? It's like, well, you know what? Nobody feels good about it at that point. Nobody will feel good when you've just well nobody knows how to feel, because it's like you made them stop talking. You've silenced another voice. Great, good. Now we're nowhere. We are regressing as a population of unified people.
Yeah, I think for me that comfort situation kind of like even that comfort in that group setting where like you can silence another person's voice, it's all like ultimately just detrimental to, it's just destructive like behavior in general. I don't think anything good can come out of that, really. And like I remember I told you about like one of my friends who goes to like a very liberal school, and like she found it very comfortable that everyone around her shared the same opinions. And like, do you remember the story? Like, I remember telling you like she found her own group, her own clique. She was like, and I asked her how college was, and she was like, it's nice, you know, I finally found people that are like me, and like they, you know, share this like share the same opinions, same interests and whatever. Yes, correct. But there were moments where, and I kind of see this too, based on how she interacts now, that she kind of shuns people not on the same political beliefs as her, you know. So I would kind of like then think that everyone in her friend group is sort of like this, like the same thinking, same political spectrum as her, which ultimately I think is like, it's just an echo of whatever you say at that point, and no one's really, you know, no one's thinking in that group if everyone thinks the same. That whole metaphor that, and even like the friend I have here who was talking about how he didn't experience another minority until well into his life, or not well into his life, but like, you know, at a later age than us. But he told me about how once he like finally met someone and like talked about it, he would just, it's kind of bad, but he would like go research like that culture and like watch videos. But like, I mean, it's sort of like a spectacle. Like he's like watching like animal behaviors
in a
or whatever.
zoo.
But like
yeah.
At the same time, you know, it's good though, because he's like, he didn't want to remain in the same comfortable way of thinking. He wanted to experience more and like actually empathize with people and learn more. And he actually had like a deeper innate like yearn to respect and learn about other people. And I thought that was a really great productive way to encounter in this conversation that I thought might have gone a little like, I thought might have gone a different way. But that was me, like, you know, what was it, stigmatizing? That was me like looking at him and being like, oh, he's might do this and that and whatever.
I mean, like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, because like even like when what you said, I could take that just as well and say what he's learning about their nation, and he's not talking to them as a person. It's like, no, it goes back to the same thing. It's like, you know, so you're from this place, oh, da da da. Like you're questioning them and probing them for answers, and it's like, can't you just have a conversation or like natural discourse and small talk and just kind of accept, well, we're both here now. That's all that really matters.
Yeah,
it's the same thing as like, you know, quote unquote foreign girl, and like how puts them in a box. And at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, there's two sides to the coin. It's like, one, you don't question them at all and you don't talk to them, and it's like, that's terrible. Two, you just do a lot of research and then you don't really talk to them, but you kind of have the higher ground in terms of like, well, I know about you because I
know about your culture.
Yeah, your culture and stuff. And it's like, so I know everything about you now, or like how you'll interact or how you will respond if I do this. It's like both sides are equally bad. I think, in terms of like how it puts the other party in a box. I don't, yeah, it's interesting. I don't fault him for, like you said, like doing research, but I understand that having a base knowledge of other people is important, even if said knowledge is like, as a group, I don't know. It seemed. Well, I do know. It seems kind of stigmatizing. I would hope that he picks up conversation with them later on.
Yeah.
Even if the catalyst of him speaking is, well, I saw on Wikipedia that your nation has 38,000 people, and it's like that's a weird way to start a conversation, but yeah.
But like I can see like you're saying right now, like the advice of like go start to have a conversation. But like I can see that also going like terribly wrong. Like as you said, like someone might get offended and be like, like I don't know, like I guess it would have to depend on the person, but I've also heard like interactions where people have like asked other like people of other different minorities about their culture and whatever, and like they get pestered. They feel pestered. They feel angry that they would have to explain this.
Yeah.
And all that. Like,
yeah.
Like for me, like I've had that throughout my life.
That's totally making sense. Like that's why I'm kind of curious about that.
So like honestly, for me, I don't care at the point. Like honestly, I used to feel like that. I used to be like, God damn, why is this person bothering me? This ignorant, like why is he so ignorant? Stuff like that. But then I got to the point where I was like, it's better. It's more good than harm to ask, and I will gladly do what I can to educate this person on like my culture or whatever, because I came from like you said, you came from like a white school. I came from a black school. Like I was the only, like I think it was me. There was no other Asian kid around, and like two other white kids in my class, and like everyone else was black. And then like 3rd grade, I went to a more diverse school, and I like finally met another Asian dude in my class. And I was like, oh, what's up? And I was like, and then like it was more diverse, more white kids in that class.
And then you called him Chinese, and he was like, what the fuck, dude?
He was like, what the fuck? And he punched he did some kung fu on me right there.
Hey, you're Chinese too.
No, but but then I remember when I was younger, I would get questioned a lot, the usual, hey, Jackie Chan, hey, you got small eyes, ha ha ha, you're good at math, the stereotypical shit that, probably every Asian kid that grows up in like a differing majority of race
definitely
like, faces, and then but like those are all jokes, and honestly it didn't hurt me at all. Well, it did some, but like I just got used to it.
Well, because like I'd want to break off from that point too and say like it's like I understand if that's how they relate in terms of like like we said, like doing their research. If we really want to break down what that interaction is, that's their limited understanding.
That it never felt like a threat.
Yeah,
that was what. Yeah,
exactly.
So like I would always, it was like friendly and whatever.
And well, I'm sorry, but we'll just like Drago and stuff. It's like, oh, Russia. It's like I go to a Russian guy. I'm like, hey, Drago, what's up? It's like that's my understanding because maybe I don't really know anything about the Soviet Union and like what happened years and years ago, or like what it is today, or maybe I think like well anyway that's all like neither here nor there. The point I'm getting at is, this is my American understanding. Hey, Jackie Chan, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Maybe some Asian comedian that is American now says that as like a form of self-deprecation. But at the same time, it's when they start believing, and I'm saying they is like, or like say the Asian person that's getting verbally assaulted, or quote unquote, or like that's kind of fallen victim to these verbal threats or like verbal kind of just stupid jokes. Basically, it's like because then it gets old. Like I understand that, or like people ask you things over and over again, or like people make the same jokes. It's like it's getting old, dude. It's like it was funny the 50th, like whatever, haha. But I know this one dude, I won't say his name, of course, but there was this other guy that I knew in middle school who was Asian, and it's so frustrating because, like, I didn't work with him. I heard that he was working at a place I was working at, like, a couple years ago, and just, like, through word of mouth, I remember I asked one of my coworkers there that I was good friends with, if he still does this, because I knew he did this in middle school. He puts on this like really stereotypical Asian accent, and he's Asian himself, and he'll do like these totally rerun Asian jokes, or like these terrible Asian jokes. It's like this is offensive to me, but I'm using it as like a badge of honor, and I'm identifying. It's like, look at me, I'm funny. I think that's just like that's sad. That's really sad that like then they kind of. I'm not saying it's like, oh, that's sad on the grounds that they're making fun of themselves. I'm thinking that's sad because it's like now you're not really anything other than what people make you out to be.
Yeah, if he's using that to like sort of hide his difference between like his other friends and use that as a mask and use comedy as a form, I would feel sad for him.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
like, actually, really quick, too, like, the same thing with, like, oh, I researched this, and, like, oh, I'm talking to you because of this base knowledge I have. Everything we're saying, everything we're talking about on the grounds of identification and, like, getting to know other people, getting to know other cultures, this is the grassroots of civil discourse. You know, be it as low as saying some stupid joke that you know because you heard it on the TV or from a movie, and then you refer to it in your everyday life, and you say, oh, this person that's different than me, or that is associated on any grounds of genetics, I'm going to refer to them like this, haha. Or otherwise, I did this paper on the Nigerian people, and then I see you are a person that genetically looks like a Nigerian. They actually, no, let's be real, they would probably make like, Nigeria is like the go-to kind of like racist African thing.
Yeah.
I think like what's his name, KSI at one point like said he was from Nigeria or something. The point I'm getting at is that like I wouldn't say this stuff about people I'm friends with. Like even we're sitting here on the podcast, like I don't usually go like, you're Shin, Paul, right? You're Paul, you're Chin, Paul. Let's talk about Burma. Let's talk. Let's talk about Myanmar. Or because we're talking about that because it's a reference to this greater, bigger thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's social understanding and like people talking to one another. But it's one thing if I'm talking to friends and we say that in passing, and it's like, oh well, this is like something that you might identify with, or like Maggie, and I'm saying that purposefully too, mind you. Or it's like, I knew her to be Maggie, but now if I refer to her, or like as I know she would want to be referred to, I say Maji or Maj, Majdulin, because it refers to something that she would like to be identified as, and I won't quite do that because I'm referring to like the nation she's coming from, or I'm saying like, Paul, because you're from Burma, I'm gonna call you Ong from now on. I'm just gonna call you Ong.
Yeah.
Because Ong is like technically, well, it's associated like with your family and like family name, and like I would call you Ong.
Mm.
But like, I know you as Paul. Like you're my friend Paul,
Yeah.
Paul Kiet. And as I knew Maggie to be, I would call her Maggie, or like, yo, what's up, Mag? I've actually never done that, Mag. That sounds weird. But yeah, that whole idea of like, I'm going to refer to you as the nation you come from would deem fit to refer to you as, because like I know that's culturally correct. If I came from, and I'm saying this is like something that is genuine. Like I wish I knew the specifications of Africa, and like all the countries. If I knew them all, like, by heart and stuff, I could say, oh, this is. But if I, hypothetically, I'm Zachary in the States, and I was born in Africa, born and raised, and then I moved to America, I'd be called Zachariah, or like typically I'd be Zachariah and then my last name,
Yeah.
It's like, so people were just all calling me Zachariah. It's like, no, just call me Zach, call me Zachary, or like, that's my name, or like that's how I am in the States or something. I'm just saying, it's like, it doesn't quite matter where you're coming from that dictates what your name is, except for what your parents call you, or like what you're called from there on, conception, etc., as we said earlier.
Yeah.
But
and for
yeah.
For my end, like with the whole Paul and the Ong thing, I tried it just to like see how things would feel if I would start getting called Ong, like just in general. But the more I did it, the more like it was like kind of a backhanded thing, where now I'm just, because it used to be like an associative thing. Like if someone called me Ong, it was like a Kachin person. But now I have like my American friends, my white friends, and my Asian friends calling me Ong. And Asian as in terms of like other culture, other nation. So now it's like if they're Chinese or Japanese or whatever. And now it's like messing with my senses. It's like, what is it? Pavlov's dog, where they ring the dinner bell and the dog, and like everyone comes home to eat. But now it's like they ring the dinner bell and I'm like, I don't know if I should eat or if I should like run or if I should like do anything, because like now like my senses are like getting off.
People
like,
would
my senses are tingling.
I would hear my because like when people say dad, everybody's like, hey dad, dad, dad. Just listen to it, dad, dad. Like it sounds like my name. I'm like, what?
Yeah, no,
like, Zach, Zach.
Yeah, it messes with my senses right now. I'm like Spider-Man, but that and like people have just started butchering the name where like it makes me visibly cringe when like someone who doesn't speak the language says it, and I'm like, ah, and I gotta like answer him back like, yo, what's up? Like, I don't want to correct him, and at some points it feels like it's
better for
I don't want to
them
like
than it is
correct
better
them because
for you.
it's better for exactly, because now I've told them like this is what I want to be called, and then now it's like they're showing me respect and doing me a service or something.
Yeah. And it's like I get that. I get like wanting to be polite, but like get off your high horse, you know. It's like it's just decency. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but like that's something I like drawing a line through, and that's the idea of there being a difference between decency and respect. It's like decency is there something that everybody should be allowed. It's hard to even explain because it's so integral to human compassion and empathy and just how we interact with one another. It's like, I'm going to show you decency, of course I am. But society is going to instill a form of respect, as we were talking about, where I will arbitrarily do certain actions to show respect to another person. It's just decent. It's decent to say somebody's name or say a pronoun that refers to them. And I'm saying this in line of like even transgender quote unquote like issues or like that being a hot topic today. If a friend of mine, I had a couple friends that are trans. Well, I had one that was a friend, one person I just knew, but like it was a guy that turned into a girl. And I was like, okay, well, your name is still the same, so I'll say your name, but if I refer to you at all, I'm like, well, yeah, she wanted to do this, or like, yeah, that was hers, or like, I'm gonna use her pronouns. Like, sure, that's just the decent thing to do. It's like, that's how you are, or that's what you want, then okay, cool, that's changed now.
Yeah.
Same with Maggie. It's like, okay, well, regardless of where you're coming from, like regardless of the nation that you are identifying with, if you as a person would like this from now on, then it's like, okay, great, you're now Maggie, or like, you know, Maj Doolin. And I can always make a joke and like I'll I'll stab at the other person and say like, what's he doing here? I thought it was just a bunch of girls, or like, you know, if I'm talking to like my transgender friend, or like if I'm like, Maggie, what's up, Magdulin, or like, you know, something. It's like we're just joking, but like what really matters is we have that camaraderie because we're friends, and like I feel comfortable enough to speak to that person like that. If somebody from the outside sees that and doesn't understand, they have no right to dictate how me, actually comfortable, you know, not so uncomfortable to the point where like I don't want to interact with that person. I'm not saying they wouldn't want to, but I'm saying it's more of a problem if I never even wanted to associate myself with Maggie in the first place, just because of some arbitrary elements like the nation she came from or her skin tone, or if I never wanted to associate myself with that transgender friend because I'm off-put by them wanting to be called something that I would define as not them because I don't know them. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so like I have no place to distance myself from somebody I don't even know. It's like it seems so simple. It's like you don't know them, you don't want to talk to them, so what gives you the right, or like, well, you know, it's like, it's not even like hand in hand. It's like, just because I don't know them doesn't mean I don't want to talk to them. But even if I don't know them and I do want to talk to them, I still should get to know them enough to be able to say anything along the lines of something that is just indecent or isn't right. To silence another person, that's just indecent. I wish you'd talk to me first.
Yeah. No, like I get what you're like trying to like I guess reason out with the whole I don't know you, but I'm not gonna talk to you because I don't know you and you're not like me. I have a dislike for you. So, right? Is that the sort of like
it's kind of
link
like
that you're going on?
it's kind of like there's 2 points to it where like if I don't know somebody and I don't want to talk to them, then I shouldn't have the right to dictate what I vaguely know of them or like what I can generalize from who they are. You know, it's like I should be able to converse with that person and
Make your own assumptions then.
yeah, exactly. It's like everything's done
Yeah.
on a person-to-person basis. It's not like you can generalize anybody on the form of like, you know, these group definitions. Like I am with this group, so I conform to this set of description. Well, the whole thing that I would want to get to is what we were talking about earlier, and it's the idea that throw racism out the window, or like just pretend it doesn't exist. I'm just saying, grassroots, we know that's bad. Like that's a terrible thing. But it's even worse to just disassociate and not even talk to them in the first place. It's like
Yeah.
if somebody says like, "Aha, Jackie Chan, ha ha ha," it's like that's racist, dude. I'm not gonna like point my finger at you and be like, "Oh, you're a terrible human being, and you shouldn't even have the right to breathe." But I will laugh at you instead of with you and say that's a bad joke. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, I'm just saying it's like it's one thing for people to say bad things to one another, but at least they're talking. It's another for somebody to falsely claim they know who somebody is just based off of the group that they subjugate them into. Because there's so many groups you can be part of. But anyway, yeah.
You say that, but it's, I don't know how, but it's still going on, and there's been so many problems still because of that. And it should have been common sense by now, you know? But it's still going on, and I thought it was done with. Like, when I came to, like, the college campus, I thought I was done with that. I thought people here were going to be intelligent, you know, reasonable, able to solve things with discussion, eloquent motherfuckers. But no, there's been moments where there was like a moment where I found myself like sitting in a dorm room watching Friday with like 3 other white guys, right?
All right, yeah.
Yeah, I have to say white because it's a description
I was
and the
just referring to
context,
Friday
right?
with like the whole like, damn.
Oh,
But yeah.
oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But then they started talking about, they said some really fucking like just degenerate shit. Like they were like, I don't even want to repeat it because like even if I repeat it, it's for like the context. But even saying it, just
They were saying like the N-word and stuff.
hard R, N-word, and they were like, how can they act like this and yada yada yada. And like, you know, it's a comedy, so they're acting loose and whatever. But they were very. I feel like you kind of understand what I'm saying,
Well,
because
it was
like
just edgy, like it's just edgy humor. Yeah.
it.
Well, I'm saying just. But
I think
I know.
yeah.
No, I know what you're saying though. It's like I know it's racist and it's like that's just it's really fucked up. Like
I think it kind of even went beyond edgy humor and went into like actual hatred.
that. See, that's what I'm getting at. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because this right here, like I will put myself. I would hope this is the overarching message that I'm kind of getting at, and just to act like I'm the star or whatever of my own world or like something. But the point I'm getting at is like people are gonna take what I say out of context, and I hope to attain a form of like public status because I want to direct movies. And when guys like James Gunn are getting fired over tweets, over speaking publicly, like saying pedophilic jokes or whatever, right? It's like if it's really that bad, just like laugh at him, be like, that's a bad joke, dude. That's what I would care about most of all. Like,
Yeah.
it's just stupid. Like, but I'm saying that as a form to preface what I'm getting at here, and that's in 9th grade. I think it was 9th grade and 10th grade. 9th grade. But anyway, I remember like, and I'm still friends with them. I don't talk to them actually like at all. I haven't talked to them in a while. But I was with like some really edgy white boys.
Mm-hmm.
And like we would say some really degenerate like edgy humor. We'd say the N-word like a lot.
Yeah.
And it was just like a form of like, oh, LOL, ha ha ha, punctuate my joke, or like punchline by saying something edgy, like Holocaust, ha 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 ha. It's funny. Like we'd say it because it was like, oh, it's edgy and humorous. Or like 9/11 is, and you go through all my old content. It's gonna be a lot of edgy humor. It's gonna, this is what I'm also saying this because like it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen, and I hope that this kid's played it at my testimony when I'm about to be lynched. Like, if you go through old YouTube comments, I'm sure you're gonna see me using the N-word. Like, I know it. I'll even give you the channel name. It was like AOKZ-Man as being like the cesspool of me growing up on YouTube and on the internet. And it's actually something else I want to talk about, but I think I'm cutting you off from like what you're talking about with frat boys or like those white boys. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying this as a means to like empathize. Like, I get where they're coming from, but it's not like when I was saying the N-word with my friends or like, God, it's actually like I mentally just receded in my head when I thought of this. If I say the N-word, and it's not even like if I say it hard R, it's like, oh, it has all the power now. Oh, he said hard R. It's like it's in context. It's like if I say, dude, I'm not even like it may seem like I'm dramatizing things, but I physically like it.
You can't say it. Yeah.
Well, not the N-word. I'll say the N-word.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
No, but of course I'm not gonna say it on the podcast because YouTube and whatever, or like even just people listening. It's like, oh, it's bad. I'm not saying that like the word itself is terrible. In fact, even in the movie, we use the N. Well, in the script, I have black character say the N-word, and white teacher says like, what did you just say? And it's all in the means to say, if we associate a negative denotation with a word, then by proxy or by virtue of this being the association, people are then going to say, well, N-word equals bad. People that are associated with that word, black people are bad. And I can't think of black people. It's evil. It's evil to do that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not familiar. Exactly. This is the whole point. Is like, if you're not familiar to talk with black people or something, it's the whole point of what we're saying. It's like, it's just so stupid that people don't understand that. If like, the N-word doesn't matter, but it has all this power. You know, it's one of these powerful words. Like, if I say anything else that's offensive, then it's like, oh, it has all this power. But anyway, just to ground myself in, like, to try and at least explain this visceral, like, it's weird. It's like, I can literally point. It's like the back left of my head is, like, buzzing or something.
It's on flames right now.
Yeah. Like, there's something, I can't quite explain it, but, like, thinking of myself using the N-word in a negative manner, or like if I actually was trying to say something insulting, or like if I was that passionate enough to tell somebody that, like, I despise God, like literally again, like it just went. It was like, it's like, I despise you. God, literally, it seems like I'm like trying to play it up. Like I don't know why, but like even like I'm just trying to say that.
He's breaking down.
My brain is melting, dude. I'm just saying that the N-word doesn't matter. I'll say this.
Is it? It's like association.
It's just using it as an associative term only matters if you're not friends with that person, or like if you don't want to be friends with them, which is a terrible thing. I'm saying that in itself is like a bad thing. But, like, I would never use that word because I know that it's offensive to insult somebody. Maybe I'd offend them if that were the point of the joke, but I'd want to have a good camaraderie with them. It wouldn't be like, now I want you to hate me, but people will do that. People will do that. They will say it because they want people to hate them, and because they are wannabe Hitlers. Like, they want to be these edgelords. And it's like, well, it's good that you hate me. Ah, ha, ha, ha. I have the power because I influenced how you feel about me or how you feel in general. I feel some form of pleasure from people altering their mood at my whim. It's like, that's all they want. They want you to be offended. But I'm just saying, like, at least where I'm coming from, I would never... Because it's not like that. It's not me trying to make it about myself. I'm just saying that, like, what you're describing, and I'm trying to bring it down, like, I'm trying to anchor myself. What you're describing is literal, that's actual hate. Like, But I don't know, well, I know it's hate from the sense that you tell me it's hate. I don't know what they were saying exactly, and I'm sure, like you said, you don't want to exactly say what they're saying. Mm-hmm. But that's a difference, is people will reclude into their little bubbles. Me, when I'm playing with my gamer white buddies on PS4, we'll say our edgy jokes and go ha ha ha, but like I could break off and say, okay, well, I understand that this is me just saying stuff to get a rise out of each other and we're just being edgy, but I know better to like bring it into public, and I'll look like a dumbass if I say this stuff out loud. And you know, it's one thing, but there are people that, and I'm not saying that they can't live with that dichotomy, or like they, and if anything, that's almost like a compliment. It's like they are so much of a character that they can't quite break, because they have molded themselves to have an identity so much that it cannot be faltered. So they will say these edgy things, and they get a rise off of blah blah blah. You know, it's like the point being is like people should know better. They should know when it comes across as hate. You know. I think that's the problem. That's really the problem. It's like people should know it's like that's hateful, or they should know, okay, they're just saying that to get a rise out of me. They're just calling me Jackie Chan because it's a dumbass joke that they heard and they think it's funny. Yeah. Because they don't know any better. They don't know what good comedy is.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was. That's exactly what I would think. Not gonna lie.
No, yeah.
Like in the earlier, like 10th grade, when I switched over there. But did you ever feel anything like that? Like I would. Like, before that, I would have, you know, do you know karate? Like, all that stuff. It'd be funny, though, because I do, and I'm like, yeah. Like, whoa, can you teach me? I'd be like, no. But it got to the point, like you said, where Jackie Chan and, like, Bruce Lee and all this other stuff just didn't get offensive. It just got old. It just got old so fast. It put me in a rut, because I was, like, at one point, at one side, I wanted to tell them how like bad that joke is, and like, you know, to say something funny, but at the other hand, it could be displayed as like me being offended,
kind of,
and then
exactly.
The edgelord gets the rise, and he fucks me up.
Haha,
you know?
Real funny, dude.
Exactly.
I am rubber. You are glue. Everything you say bounces off me, sticks back to you.
What the heck was that?
You know that's from, right?
No.
It's Superstar.
I don't know.
It's really funny, but like, well, I'm just saying that as like a means to refer to like what you're saying, and it's like you can't really say anything. You can't even laugh at them, or like if you are laughing, then they'll think, oh, what I said was really funny. It's like, no, dude, we're laughing at you. You just, it's just like. Just like, it's so funny. Like, but they're a character. I almost said he, but it could be a she, but I'm just saying, it's like they're a character. They can't break, and that's good for them. They found at least some stereotype that they can fulfill, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like an NPC that's meant to insult you.
Yeah. And good for them. They found their place.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's like, that's where it's dangerous, when people quote-unquote find their place, but it's just not original. You're like, dude, you are... you're so unoriginal that you just became something that like is represented in mass media, and it's like you're just
has like anything like that happened to you? Like, cause I remember like I think one time you got like hit, like someone threw like some piece of paper at you like during one of the assemblies, like for the school shooting.
Oh yeah, I had like you said though, like was, oh my god, I feel well, like the school we were at filming Setting the Sun, it's like naturally we're gonna get a lot of setbacks because we have so many shots of people walking on the set, or just people being a nuisance, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, is like they want to get a rise out of you. They want to like try and poke at you all they can, and that's something that's universal. It's not even like, because racism is just an example of that problem that we're getting at. It's just people trying to get a rise out of you by being a nuisance, you know, or being a class clown, or being a clown at all. It's like that's how they get attention to, and even me as a quote unquote NPC, I could go, that's how the bullies want to get your attention. They're like that, they don't get attention when they're home, so da 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 da. You know, it's like, of course there's problems with this stuff. Of course there's ways we can explain it, but it's not like a bad mommy and daddy situation for the quote-unquote bully that we're painting right now. It's not like that's the only way to explain them. Mm-hmm. If anything, I'm just... I'm the bully. But like, if anything, the bully is just going to make fun of you even more if you try and empathize with them. Because that's the role they fulfill. You know, it's like you can't explain them in a generalized term. The point is that I can't necessarily explain exactly who they are. But that's all to say that, like, with the bully in this case, the bully can't even really explain who they're making fun of. You know, it's like
Yeah.
that's what makes it all the more funny to laugh at them. But you can't necessarily laugh at them because it just that this misunderstanding that is filled with hollow, echoed laughter, and it's just perpetual, and it's just bullshit that makes people feel worth when they live. It's like, oh, I did something today. I made fun of the Asian kid in class, or oh, I did something today. I threw a piece of paper at a white boy and he got mad at me or something. Like,
And it was funny.
Yeah,
I don't know.
very funny.
It was. I tapped the boy and he looked over and I was on his other shoulder. Ha ha ha.
Damn, that boy looked mad. Yeah. Well, that's what happened. Is like we were at an assembly for 17 kids that got killed in high school, and there was going to be 17 minutes of silence, and everybody in this crowd that we were with, they just wanted to be there because it would get them out of class. And there was this group of girls behind me, and like, this is when I was bald, so you just picture bald Andre standing there in this group of people, and I had my hat on though, and it was backwards. They probably didn't see that I was bald, but still, it just kind of added to the humor of it. They tapped me on the shoulder. I think, no, one of them, it wasn't that they tapped me on the shoulder, it's that one of them bumped into me. And then, like, I turned around, because I was like, there, you know, you want to get my attention, you have it. And I just looked at him, because I was 17 minutes of silence, I'm going to be silent. Like, I'd show them the decency of silence. Well, respect, more so. I tried correcting myself to decency, but no, this is respect. This is just respect for the dead. It doesn't exactly bring them to life. It isn't decent to the people that died.
Yeah.
But at the very least, in an arbitrary sense, we've defined it to be respectful, to be there for 17 minutes of respect. So I, a civilian of society, am going to show them respect by being silent. And so when I see somebody who's not being silent, of course I'm gonna glare at them. It's like you're outside of the bubble right now. You are a nuisance. You are a threat to what is deemed to be respectful. It's not respectful to say things that are racist, but at the very least, they're speaking, and that's, as much as I know this is gonna rub people the wrong way, it's decent that they're talking at all, you know? But it's not respectful, as it would be arbitrarily defined. It's not respectful to talk during the assembly. So I looked at them, I glared, and then they went, damn, and they reacted. And it's like, what would, you take 100 people under that circumstance, and you make them react. How are they going to react if they are the person antagonizing said person that glares at them? They're going to go, damn, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Even if they're not going like, damn, which can be referenced to like Friday, or the people that were saying this, it was a group of black girls. Friday is a quote-unquote black movie, so when these white boys are in their dorm watching it, they're going to probably be saying racist things that are associated with black people, like the N-word, which is racist for anybody who's not black to say it. But it was empowered after like gangster rap kind of empowered the word. But I'm just saying gangster rap, like Ice Cube. I remember seeing him in an interview. That's my reference. I don't know. Maybe it was something else. Maybe like different types of music or different speeches, etc. I'm just saying. So, as a reference, maybe they're not black. Maybe they're a bunch of Mexicans. Maybe they're a bunch of white guys. They're going to react in a form of, I'm an antagonist. I'm going to react in a way that, like, they would react in any form of manner that an antagonist in this situation would. They're going to not admit that they're at the fault, but they're going to play the protagonist of their antagonizing mean.
Yeah.
It's like, just get original, dude. It's like, you turn around and man, why didn't that girl?
You put yourself at, like, well, not even you. It's like you just got put into like a rut. Like, you can't get out of this place because you know what the right thing is. But you can't use that as a weapon against them, you know? Like, I'm saying they're too stupid to comprehend.
Jesus.
I just want to say, well, it's like,
just like
I don't
what you're
know.
saying though. I'm sorry, like I kind of cut you off there. Well, like the point is like, I think this is the formula that we're getting at is like you can't say anything because they're just being disrespectful. You know, it's like anybody can be disrespectful, and in the wrong, respectfully, diction, used purposefully. They can be in the wrong, and disrespect another person, and it's acceptable, but reprimand them and slap their wrist as much as I can. That wasn't very nice. That wasn't very respectful. But it's different when it comes to decency, and they do something that is just indecent. It's like, I'm going to react in a manner that matches you on that level of indecency, and I'm very well within the right to react. That's why I think it gets muddled when we say things that are disrespectful, and then we feel the means to reprimand them. You know, it's like, well, I have the right to be disrespectful too. It's like, well, no, it's not right that you get disrespectful because nobody looks good in that situation. But the very same vein, even if you act respectfully, you're not really. Of course, you're within the right, socially speaking, but it doesn't add anything. It's like if you laugh at them and say, "Ha ha ha, you are so unoriginal," and I'm being very, you see what I mean? It's like you're being respectful, or like that wasn't very nice. It's like, sure, you're within the rights, you did the right thing, kid, but it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter if somebody's being disrespectful. Like, but people will get offended if I don't tell you thank you when you've done something nice for me. It's like, you're gonna get offended. You're gonna feel like I'm ungrateful. It's like, I understand. But it's like, maybe I can't explain, but I am grateful. Or maybe it's something that I just can't be explained. Like, maybe I do feel this way. But respect is something that, it's fickle. It's something that can be explained, but it doesn't quite mean anything to the realms of decency, which is something that it's just visceral. Like, you feel when somebody's being indecent, and like an animal, you interact and say, well, I'm a human, and you're just kind of feral right now. You are a feral human being.
Yeah, and it goes past, like, you go like another level down with decency, I guess. Like, that's the basic level, and if you cross that level, you become like a feral animal.
Yeah.
Even a tamed animal, you could at least reprimand and be like, "Don't do that, Spike.
Yeah.
Don't eat out that jar. Don't eat out the
Stop
cookie
looking
jar.
at my ass, Spike.
Stop. Do you want the peanut butter stick?"
Yeah.
But once you go past that, you become feral, and you either don't get into a fight with a feral animal, just not good at that.
Main point is just being familiar with people. Like, that's one of the topics that I really wanted to get at. I think if you're just not familiar and you feel like you can understand somebody, that's not... You'll look righteous if you understand, like, the group that they're in, or like the group they're from, and like diplomatically you will be righteous. But as a person on this planet, you're just being respectful, and respect only matters within the social norm that you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's another when you're being indecent, or just, you should always be decent. That's all that matters. It's like, just be a decent human being. But don't put yourself on a high horse if you're being respectful. Just understand that it matters where. Well, anyway, I'd just be reiterating at that point.
Just be a decent human being, guys.
Just be a decent human being. And that's why, like, and the reason I'm really kind of harping on this too is like, recently there was a post on Instagram that I made on my story, and I'm not really calling anybody out. It's like, there's nobody really to call out, but it brought this ethical dilemma to my attention, and that's that if people look back on, like, the edgy comedy or whatever, or called comedy by me, but like could be just vile to somebody else, or like just not funny at all, or just edgy. It's just edgy humor. I feel like, to an extent, when we look back on comedy today, especially like with guys like Leafy and stuff, it's like, it's just not gonna be funny. And all this, it's just this reference humor. It's like, if you don't know the reference, then it's just not as funny, like with memes and whatever. But with or without what I posted in question being funny, it was edgy, so people are gonna look back on this stuff and be like, well, that was offensive. It freaks me out to think that somebody might be able to act in a manner that might be detrimental to my quote unquote career in the future just because of something I said. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that is terrifying. That's terrifying that people can be reprimanded just because of what they say. And I think it's not like I would justify what I say at all, even if what I say is not edgy, or like if it's just some like cornball joke. Can't we detach that from ourselves? Or like those like, again, I'm referring to them, like the white boys in the dorm that you're talking about. Like, it's like, maybe they don't, but it should be. I guess I'm using myself in this example. It should be that they are able to detach themselves from the edgy humor they say, or like whatever they say. They should be able to detach from that and say, well, that wasn't respectful at all, or that wasn't right to say. And like, of course, I'm not going to live with that being my actual belief. But point being, what I'm saying is, without defending what I say on a public stratosphere, or like whatever I say now, or what I said when I was 10 years old, or whenever it was even possible for me to speak on the internet, I just can't believe that something physically could be enacted on somebody for speaking. And I think the fact that I even said anything, whatever I say, like, again, I keep harping this, but I'll just say outright, it's the fact that I'm able to say whatever I want that I think matters most of all. And I think that is being seriously tested right now, and it is terrifying when we have things like Article 13 and the Europe and like Parliament breaking down or cracking down on these people just for what they're saying. Like, that is, it should seem like something from a dystopian world, like 1984, like doublethink and stuff. But
it shouldn't be prevalent now in like a first world country.
Yeah.
Like America or the UK.
It's absolutely mind-boggling that, like, people are getting arrested over what they're saying. It's like, didn't Gandhi it's like attest to this? Didn't he? It's like, haven't people suffered enough to get us where we are? Do we need more people to suffer? Do we need more martyrs? Like, have we not had enough in history to look back on? It is just, it's sad. I mean, at least, I don't know. And well, I don't know yet. I don't know how things are going to look 10 years from now. At the very least, I'm going to continue testing my right to freedom of speech. And if I am damned for what I say, then so be it. And I understand that is my cross to bear. And I say cross, like, I don't care. It's like, Jesus Christ. But I won't put myself on a mountain and say, like, righteously I am defending my right to speech. And I hope I'm not defending my right to speech. I hope I'm able to use it. But as things stand now, it's terrifying to think that people are going to have to fight for their will to speak again. It's like we truly are regressing, and sure, we're back and forth on what's respectful and disrespectful, but I hope there's not a time in the future where we are just indecent.
And if there is, this is your apology video.
This is my apology.
This is your argument in the court.
Yep. Just play this part in the podcast.
Yeah. Episode 5.
Episode 5.
Season 1.
Yeah. See, I can't believe people put seasons on things on YouTube. They're like, season this, season that. Actually, don't people do that on, like, albums? Like, on EPs? Don't they do that?
Seasons? I've never...
No. Oh, never mind. Well, like,
no.
there's one guy I follow who called his album Season 13. But I don't know.
What? What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen it. I've seen the YouTube series. They call it Seasons to make it.
Grade A. Yeah, I'm following.
I don't know, like a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just mimicking mainstream media. God, I can't wait for when. Well, that's terrifying too. Is like YouTube. No, YouTube's gonna go under. Like, with how things are going, freedom of speech is like.
Yeah.
It's so weird. We are on the brink of something that would revolutionize how people connect in the world. Ugh.
And then money got in the way. Money got in the way of everything.
Yeah. And now people are going to understand others like Drago, or like Jackie Chan, or like Will Smith.
Yeah.
or it's like, gee,
That's hot.
ooh, that's hot.
Yeah, I want Fortnite.
No, I think I don't know. Like, wasn't it like taking towards like the small creator route and like actually gonna expand channels, and then it just went the other way.
Now especially this past year has been so bad with copyright strikes and like just how people have suffered on here, like with people getting outright like deleted. Like that's insane. And again,
Yeah.
I get that guys like Alex Jones is just spreading like this conspiracy theory rhetoric. Like one of the more like damning things I heard about him was, well, he said that there were you know what I'm talking about, like Sandy Hook shooter,
Like the conspiracy theory that they're actors.
yeah, but there's like a name for him. I can't remember.
Tragedy actors.
Tragedy actors, or yeah, it was something.
Crisis actors.
The point being is like, yeah, they're just these people that speak after like a serious epidemic. He was saying that they were like actors, or there are people that speak on these matters. And again, I could say things like, well, it's terrible that people that would watch this guy would then believe that and then disregard anybody that speaks after a tragedy. On the other hand, maybe I'd back it up and I'd say, well, I saw this one video of these journalists trying to speak to people after a tragic event, and the people told them to fuck off. They're like, stop, don't talk to me after said event that happened. So it's like, maybe it's not possible for journalists to do that. And so
They have
A
to.
plus B, yeah, it's like they need to have actors so that they can have a quote-unquote representative of said event that happens, and so they can put a face on it. Kind of like how people make heroes and villains, they need a face that embodies whatever bad amalgamation they can, or whatever amalgamation of good that they see in the world. They need a face or something. We need something that makes things simple, like memes. Just simplify it for me. I only have so much time in my day, and then I'll move on, But and it's like, that's a bad thing, of course. Like I'm saying that's a problem, but I mean, time eats away at people's lives and we all die. That's a problem. Something that can't be helped.
Yeah.
So of course, whether or not you're for or against what Alex Jones is talking about, whether you think he's a problem or whether you think he's the answer, it doesn't matter. Same as I defend myself. It's like, he should have the right to freedom of speech, I did actually. I'll say this just to define myself and say I'm coming with bias. In senior year of high school, actually, like when we were going to, I did a research paper on a Japanese. Well, he was a writer. He was this guy that wrote on political events, and he was just a historian and stuff. But point being, this guy did a lot of writing. He actually took a lot of cocaine too when he was younger. His name was Kita Iki. And he was killed because of a paper he wrote on the imperial government pre-World War II. This guy just wrote on an event, and then this military group then tried overthrowing the government, and Kita Iku was directly connected to this group just because of a piece he wrote, speaking critically of the government he was under. Again, it's like, what? Why are we killing people because of what they're saying? It's like, I get if the government of Japan, led by some monarch or just some dude, like, is gonna go and kill these militant groups, but like, why do you need to connect like these words to, just some writer? It's like, he's a problem or something. It's like, well, maybe that says something about your leadership. Maybe that says something that, same thing here. It's like, if you think he's a problem, well, you're just giving him attention. And if you need to silence him to solve the problem, well, then you're going to go on listening to this rhetoric. You're going to go on... Well, like, an argument I've also heard is that if people believe Alex Jones to be bad and they silence him, then somebody more radical is going to come along. Well, I mean, that's what Setting the Sun is, actually. I said this shit like 2 years ago. It's like if people make a problem and silence somebody, then they're just gonna get louder. They're just gonna get more violent. They're gonna become radicalized, and it's gonna get worse. And both sides are gonna fight with equally deafening threats that will silence one another. That's what I'm saying. It's like, whether you confide in what they say or not, it's like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't react with force. You know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like.
I mean, it doesn't.
I feel like it boils. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it sort of just boils down to like intelligence and I don't know. I feel like I keep on saying that, but I don't know. It's just also there's an example of like Alexander the Great and the philosopher Diogenes. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Where Diogenes is like, well, you have your example of like writers being killed for like a piece they wrote.
Yeah.
But then here is this example, and this is only one example of like one reference, so it's not like this for everyone, but Diogenes is a philosopher who lives in a barrel, shits in a bucket, masturbates in public. You know?
Yeah.
He lives what he preaches. He lives what he preaches, which is that sort of like a nihilistic view of life, but also that life should be, you should just do whatever you want, and all this other stuff. I don't want to get too into that, but the point is that he was a philosopher, and one day Alexander the Great, a learned, intelligent, and very military talented man, came up to him wanting to seek his advice or whatever, and then he steps over to talk to Diogenes, and then Diogenes goes, "Move out, you're in my way of the sun." And like, how do you, as like Alexander the Great, not just kill that man right there if he said something like that to you? And that's because, you know, you need, as like a leader, you should like be able to take criticism and do all that stuff and boil down to like rationalization of your actions and of what other people consider your actions to be. But then you have so many governments like that who just don't want to hear or don't want any threats to their power. And these are like fucking old men who've gone to university, who have a learned education, fucking rich as hell, and you still have that sort of, I don't know, it always baffles me.
They just want to be taken so seriously.
Baffles
yeah.
me. It's like the equivalent of having some guy say, "Ha ha ha, Jackie Chan." It's like, it's another character. It's what I'm saying. It's what I think I'm trying to say. It's another character. It's like never really evolved past like sort of childlike thinking, where this person says something bad against you, bad person should go away forever.
Yeah, it seems like doing something, and I think even trying to ground what I was saying earlier, it's like respect and decency go on two wavelengths. Like they're two different spectrums, and it's like, if you silence somebody, that's something that, I'm not going to say it's like, oh, it's indecent, and somebody who might understand decency to a definition that I'm not exactly articulating here, they're going to say, oh, you're saying what I'm doing is wrong. I'm saying that decency is something that is just innately wrong and right, whereas respect is something that is subjectively wrong and right. Or like innately, or like it just is, basically, or like it just is wrong and right. So whether or not you silence somebody, or well, no, if you silence somebody because of something that is disrespectful, you're bringing it to a totally different world. I don't care if it's wrong or right. Yeah. It's just, you're not functioning within the realms of the socially deemed or subjectively deemed wrong and right. You're just something that,
yeah,
it's just, yeah, it's visceral, and people haven't exactly, but that's the thing too, is people are trying to define decency in the same way that one would define respect, where like I would feel like somebody dying or somebody being silenced and just vanquished, that feels wrong to me. And like, but it's weird because people are seeing it through a lens of respect, and they're going to try and give leeway to why it might be disrespectful for the person says blah 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 blah, and that context of who they are is going to define how I see something to be decent. But I guess if people don't see that, and if the world we live in is going to oblige to what is subjectively defined to be respectful or disrespectful, and if they see that to be right or wrong, then perhaps they will be hazy when trying to define what decency is, and so that it'll seem like the right thing to do, just to silence another person or to remove them from one's life, which I'll speak from experience. I have a lot of people in my life that have seen it fit to remove friends, family members from their lives, and I'm sure there's yeah, there's probably a plethora of reasons they have to do so, but to me, at least, I feel like decency is something that people should universally connect on, but to me, it just seems indecent. It seems wrong to feel like you have the power to just... as melodramatic as I make it sounds like... It just seems like they kill them. It seems like murder.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and I don't care if they're in prison. I don't care if they've wronged you. I don't care what it is. If you just can't... If you can't even just talk to them, like, once a year, or once before they die, you know, that seems wrong. But, like you said, like, if the president, or if somebody in higher power, and any government, or whatever, if they do something that essentially leads to the person that is talking bad of them to become a martyr, it's like... That just seems like you're fighting a battle on a different realm. Like, you are not associating, or you're not. If we're looking at the head of government to be like the end all be all of our subjective definition of what's right and wrong, it seems like they're muddying that water, and they're trying to redefine history, or they're trying to define how people should feel about things, and feeling is something that should be integral to anyone, universal. There's nothing that goes deeper than saying how somebody feels about a matter. People start it off in a sentence: I feel this way about something, I feel this way about something, because it's so innate. But to define how one feels about something, it's like you're trying to define who they are, and that is terrifying. But yeah, like, just, yeah, the fact that anybody can silence another person, the fact that, like, in government stuff like that happens, that's disheartening. And to see it happening in the present date, it just says that we have a long way to go before people in the future can actually make things right.
Yeah, that scares me.
Yeah, I hope I can...
It means more martyrs to come.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, that's terrifying. We'll probably not be alive until we see... until the world can come at peace. But...
Yeah.
But I mean, that's also to... Aside from the fact that the world's constantly dying, you know.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, it's... Crazy world. But...
Is this a good note to end the podcast on?
I guess so, yeah.
The world dying?
Yeah, the world dying. It's the end of our podcast.
Yeah.
They'll play this in the dying embers of planet Earth. When it smolders.
Oh, you gotta play like the end song from Spider-Man 1. What was it? It was that rock band. Hold on.
Oh my god! Oh, the
I'm so